pressing or weighing heavy on your heart about your sobriety that you need to share with the group tonight? Damn it. Okay. My name's Kristina. I am an alcoholic. I'm grateful to be here. Just a moment. I'm really nervous tonight for some reason.
We always are.
So, I get to tell you that I have a sponsor. My sponsor has a sponsor, and that lineage goes on. I get to tell you that my sobriety date is February 11th, 2011. And that's through the Fellowship of Alcoholics and Grace of God that I am here today to be able to share my story with you. I don't know why I'm so nervous, because it's my story. I can't screw it up. I mean, I screwed everything else up, and I finally came here to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous willing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I grew up from a pretty decent family. They were fun. My family kind of put the fun and dysfunctional. My mother was Ukrainian. My father was Italian. That was a very, very boisterous household. So there was never a dull moment. And I fit right into the mesh. My dad had 12 family members. So he had 11 brothers and 1 sister, all Italian. Italian grandmother spoke not a bit of English. She spoke to me in Italian. On the way over here, I was listening, trying to find, and when I get nervous and upset and, restless, irritable, and discontent, we could call it, I like to turn on classical music. I grew up listening to opera and classical music because of my family. And it sort of makes me feel at peace. And of course, I'm driving through here, and I'm driving from Foxfire, and the classical music station will not come in. But it's okay. But I'm a stubborn person. I'm a stubborn alcoholic. It's coming in bits and pieces, but I'm trying to find that channel. Stubborn runs really rampant in my family, and I got the wonderful gene of being a stubborn person. And I got it honestly. My family was quite unique. My dad was an entrepreneur, I guess you could say. In real life, he was a bookie. And I grew up hanging out with the boys. I hung out with my father. He had a bar. I grew up at a bar. And so I saw the comings and goings. I didn't hang out much with my mother because she was busy. She ran an apparel factory and had about 200 women of all ethnic persuasions sewing away. And she dragged me there. And I wasn't into the sewing thing. That's like way too chick-like. I grew up with the boys. I grew up as a jock. I was very athletic. I watched my father and my uncle's fox. My life was, I guess pretty normal for an Italian girl, from Philadelphia. And I remember, going to the racetrack all the time with my dad. I can handicap a horse at the age of 8, maybe earlier. And I grew up, my dad ended up selling the bar because things got a little hot. And he ended up opening up a little store, like a little convenience store. So, until I could reach the counter, I started working. I worked, my family all had businesses. There was never a time, if I was not in sports, my rear end was working with somebody. So not only did I have my dad and his little store at that time, also was real busy in sports. My brothers are 2 stepbrothers from my mother's first marriage. Both my mom and my dad were married before. And it was sort of like a surprise. They had me a little later in life. And my parents were, they were partiers. My parents were partiers. So I was used to the lifestyle of partying. And I went to Atlantic City and Las Vegas and traveled a lot. with my family. And yeah, so I kind of like the bright lights in big city and, you know, the lifestyle. Because, you know, you never knew what the hell was going to happen in my house. My brothers were, my one brother had a garage. And at times I'm working at the garage pumping gasoline. A little thing about being stubborn, you know, I'm here hanging out at the garage, hanging out with the boys. They were muscle heads. And I had a crack in my alternator. My brother's like, well, we just need to get a new alternator cap. You go get it, and, you know, we'll fix it. I got this. And there I go. I'm under the hood of my Chevy Nova, replacing the alternator cap. Well, did I label any of the shit? No. I jacked it up. My brother was very happy, but, you know, I didn't follow directions. I've never followed directions. I've had a problem with authority. You know, that was evident even growing up at a young age. Like one of the first memories of me just being a real pain in the butt was at school. Of course, I went to Catholic school, and I was in a science class, and the science teacher proposed this thing about grains of sand. And it's like, you know, there are an infinite amount of grains of sand, and you can count them. I'm like, sand's being made all the time, man. There is no way that you can count every grain of sand. And we actually went at it. You know, I was right. I mean, I knew what I was talking about. My ass is outside with the desk and everything until Mother Myron came and gave me my sentence. You know, growing up in, you know, a boisterous Italian family, hanging out with the boys, I didn't take much. I didn't hang out with the girls too much, except playing sports with them. I was, you know, I had a lot of guy friends because, you know, I played basketball, I played baseball, I played softball. My mom sends me to the ice rink because she wants me to take figure skating lessons. Well, I signed up for the hockey team. I'm the child that just really, really ran the screws together. I mean, we had a unique relationship. My mother's no longer with us, and unfortunately, she never got to see me this sober, which is a blessing because my mother saw some really screwed up things, and I wasn't a really good daughter. So, you know, unmanageability, a little crazy, a little wild, tomboy. Drugs, you know, alcohol wasn't really a big thing for me because I grew up in an Italian family. I was weaned on wine. So, drugs have a part of my story, but I got sober here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is the room that saved my life. But drugs are part of what helped me reach my bottom. So I get to a point in my life where, you know, I get to high school, and you know, whole new high school. Of course, my parents have to send me to the best school, and it's about an hour a bus ride away. And already, you know, the girls are on there smoking. And I can't smoke a cigarette, I can't inhale, you know. But the first thing I learned to inhale is a joint, of course. So, you know, that was freshman year of high school. And then I partied, you know, with that, and I did some things, and, you know, being the type of person that I was and what was happening with me, I felt more comfortable with adults than I did with people my own age. You know, I was at home playing sports. I did my schoolwork, you know, what I had to do. I didn't go above and beyond by any measure with schoolwork because I was lazy. So I just got through, but I got really good grades. And I was blessed to have a scholarship to college. And I got a scholarship for softball and track and field. And on December 23rd, my senior year in high school, a drunk driver hit me. And I crushed about all the bones in my body, definitely in my legs. My girlfriend was with me. We were on my way to go pick up my grandmother. And, because, you know, everybody has a business somewhere. And she's at this little fabric store that she ran at a farmer's market. So we were on our way to go pick her up. And Just never made it. And I think maybe that was really the turning point in my life, because at that point in time, it was horrible. I saw the man that hit us, in front of me. I couldn't get out of the car. I was trapped in the car for I don't know how long. I crushed my elbow trying to bust my way out until the jaws of life got me out. My girlfriend was screaming the whole time. Yeah, so this is a memory that I still have. And it took a long time to recover from that. And of course, there goes the scholarship for athletics when it takes you about a year to walk again. And while I was recuperating, they pull a hospital bed to the house. And I'm not feeling too much pain because they're medicating me. Well, this is when my mother comes into the deal, because she's a real control freak. And she's like, you don't need these. You don't need these pain pills. I was writhing in agony. I was probably suffering from traumatic stress disorder. I would jump at the sound of a dog barking, the car backfiring, everything. Life was really bad. It sucked. And then my mother took away the pain pills. And I always listened to my mother and father fight because, that's what they did. And they would fight a lot about that. And it got to the point where my father would bring me his bottle of Canadian Club and, try to rifle through the house trying to find, the medication. But she ditched it, flushed it, whatever she did. And luckily I had friends. My friends brought me medicine, and that's what I needed. I was in pain, man. I was in big time pain. So, after about a year, all of that stuff was settled, and the legal thing was settled, and, I got a lot of money. And so what does any, young woman do with a lot of money? You party. You go to Europe, you party like a rock star. And that's what I did. I, traveled everywhere. I had, I had a boyfriend that was like my father, because he was my sugar daddy. And my dad gave me absolutely everything that I ever wanted, and so did this man. So of course, I think it was perfect. And I began living the life. I lived the life of partying and running up and down trains, planes, and automobiles. And this boyfriend was in the import-export business. And of course, I get involved with that. It's, that's fun. Anything that's you can do and sneak and, hide. And, that was the 80s, man. You can get away with a lot of shit. And I did. My family kept me pretty protected growing up. And then when I got with Ramon, I was basically untouchable because his family, had diplomatic immunity. I had people covering me wherever I went. And I was living a life that was not very healthy. And after about 3 years of that, I realized that I couldn't live that way. I didn't want to live with a man who was going to cheat on me constantly. It was like my father. I mean, I used to go to my dad's girlfriend's houses. My dad always had girlfriends. And I was like, this is not what I want. And then, of course, what happens after that is I meet another guy. Imagine that. But this guy's different. This guy's white red. His last name does not end in a vowel. He's from down south. His family, his dad was an attorney and his mother was a school teacher. I mean, he was white bread. He had great toys. He had a uniform. And we were off. We moved. And of course, I needed a geographic relocation at this point in time after 3 years of just, sickness. It would get to the point where I'd have to go to the hospital for the doctor, give me enough Valium to bring my heart back down and pack my nose, because it got to that point. And I find this guy, and of course he saves me. And we moved down south, and that's always, the story. It's a guy that's always going to make it better, right? Well, so life down south was a little different because I'm a Yankee and I'm from Philadelphia, and I look a little funny down here, especially in the deep south called Knoxville, North Carolina, where there was one stoplight. And I drive like a bat out of hell. And I had a Honda Prelude. Everybody knew me because I'm down 64, blowing everybody off, flipping the finger. You know, it's all about me. That's the way I was. You know, just self-centered, pain in the ass. It's all about me. And I ended up marrying this man after we lived together, according to my mother in sin, for about 8 years. We finally got married. We got married and we moved to Pinehurst, North Carolina. And here, I ended up running my own business, and it was a pretty good life. It was a pretty good life, but I have always suffered from the grass is always greener on the other side. I always want a little bit more. I always think it's better over there. I always think that, you know, and I still have this disease because everywhere I go, I can always find the person that's going to give me what I want. And it only took me about 6 months when I moved to Knoxville, you know, to find the party people. So of course I find the party people, and then I move here, and I straighten up for a little while. And at this point in time, my husband, you know, he doesn't do cocaine; he could just stop. Wow, it's pretty cool. I can't. You know, he likes to drink, and of course I like to drink too. And after about 3 or 4 martinis, you know, I need a little pick-me-up because he's still drinking beer, and I'm about ready to fall on the floor. So that's where, you know, the coke comes back in to play again. And there's periods of me doing really well. I mean, there's periods of me going, oh my God, I can't breathe. My life is like totally insane. I'm running this business, and I'm doing pretty good. You know, I had a franchise in Sanford, and I had a franchise here in Southern Pines. And I sold the one in Sanford, and after 5 years with the franchise, I broke off and went on my own because I didn't have to pay royalty fees. And, you know, I started doing the deal, and of course, once again, I get in with the wrong crowd because I always gravitate. You know, I tried church, I tried the Bible, I did the Christian women's group, I did all that. I know, the Christian women's group, me. So I've tried everything at this point because, you know, there's always this empty feeling that I always try to fill with alcohol, you know, cocaine, or relationships. And my husband and I were not getting along so well, imagine that. And we start counseling. And one of my girlfriends recommends this counselor to see by the name Bonnie C. And I get to Bonnie C's office, and, you know, we're talking, and I'm telling her a little bit about my life, and she's like, do you think you're an alcoholic? I'm like, I think I'm a drug addict, probably. Alcoholic? No, I was weaned on it. She's like, oh, have you ever been to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous? I'm like, no, I haven't. She's like, well, why don't you try going to one of these meetings? In the meantime, she just needs to stand up. I go to one of these meetings, and I'm trying to, you know, keep the marriage together. I have children at this point in time. I have 2 beautiful children. And, you know, I try to be a good kid, but it doesn't always happen because I'm easily distracted. I have the attention span of a gnat, you know? And so I come to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I get in here, and I'm like, and you're talking about God. You know, and I'm a good Catholic girl. I know all about God. So, you know, I come strutting in these rooms. I'm like, I practice every step but the one on the walls. You know, I didn't practice those steps. I get a sponsor, I wave to her, I talk to her, I whine to her, you know. And when I get to the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, I wreaked havoc. I really did. I wreaked havoc when I got here. And I took hostages. And for that, you know, I'm truly sorry. You know, it took what it took, and it took these rooms for me to realize that there is a better life out there. Because each time I came back into these rooms, I see the same exact people, and they're not running from the law. They're not, they're not in a quagmire like I am. They're not addicted to anything. You know, after Bonnie, she recommends a psychiatrist. And of course, he tells me I'm not an alcoholic, and that's all I need to hear. And he gave me some prescriptions. And that was a beautiful thing. So add alcohol, cocaine, and medical prescriptions, and that is a recipe for disaster. And I'm in here in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I crashed and burned several times in these rooms, several times. Because I'm stubborn. I don't listen. I don't take direction very well at all. And then finally, I was given, now I call it, and everybody else does too, the gift of desperation. Because shit got bad. It got bad quick. After third time, I probably had about a year's sobriety, and of course, what do? I need a man. Oh, a man, yes, oh, he's perfect, yes. And he graduated the Duke program, the Duke treatment program already. So, of course, that's my guy. That's exactly the guy I need. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell you how that went. Not too well. Not too well. I end up becoming not a mother, that's for sure, because I moved to Greensboro with this man. He was wonderful. We're going to get married. I get a friggin' tattoo. I got 48 million scars. I know. I said to my life, I would never get a tattoo. What do? I get a tattoo. Because he keeps wanting to get married, you know. He's like, well, let's get a tattoo. Like, okay, we'll get a tattoo. That's better than getting married. Right? I can handle that. And plus, I don't want you cutting into my money that I need to do my stuff with, because I need money. That marriage license, how much is that? And then we have to go get a blood test? Hell no, let's go get high. That's always how the scenario went. It was just sick. And that relationship really brought me to my knees. Because something pretty... While in and out of these rooms, I met some really, really wonderful people, and some beautiful women. One woman told me, her being Catholic herself, she's like, well, did you ever just try talking to God? And I was like, I pray. I pray the Catholic prayers. I pray them in Italian. I pray them in Latin. I pray them in Ukrainian. Did you ever try talking to God? I was like, She's like, well, start writing Dear God letters. So I did that for a while. Of course, I'm still bouncing in and out of the rooms. But this is one thing that's kind of interesting because on January the 11th, I got sober on February 11th, 2011. I write this in my journal. I can't take too much more. Dear God, please remove all my burdens. Make the pain and hurt as well as the emptiness go away. Fill me with your love. And at that point, this relationship, it was just damn toxic. He was, of course, an alcoholic, and he was also a blackout drunk. And there was one point in time where it came down to like our last $60, and I had to come to Pinehurst because I wanted to see my children. He wanted to go to the dope house. And, I put my foot down. And we get back to the house, and he goes stomping, and all of a sudden I hear shit breaking. And crash, bam, boom. I'm like, what in the hell's happening? So I go upstairs, boom, there's my coffee pot. You do not mess with my coffee pot, okay? That pissed me off. And at that point in time, I'm this woman that's very stubborn. I'm invincible. I'm bulletproof. I can take on anybody and anything when I'm pissed off enough, And I was pissed off. And at that point in time, I think I had 4 rounds. I went 4 rounds with the man. I got the first 2 in. And the next 2, he beat the stuffing out of me. He did. And it was horrible. It was horrible, and at that point in time, my only resolve was, to numb the pain. That's what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna numb the pain. His grandmother was dying, so she was under hospice care. So she had a morphine. So, morphine became my friend. It was liquid, I didn't have to inject it, because, I never inject it. I just, put it out often, I won't inject it. And it got to the point that night, after all of that went down and he beat the snot out of me, I'm staring at this bottle of morphine, and I've got a shotgun, and he's gonna die, and I'm gonna get high. And it was a turn, and here's a God wink, because the sheriff finally comes to pick his ass up. Finally, 3 days, man. We pulled out papers on him because his parents saw the aftermath and the havoc, and they saw what happened to me. And they're like, oh no, we're going to the sheriff's department, we're pulling papers out. Well, apparently in Alamance County they move a little slow, so 3 days later the sheriff comes. And when the sheriff finally comes, I didn't sleep at all, because I'm staring at him with that shotgun, and I'm watching his every move. And I have a plan, and that plan's not good. That plan is not good at all. So when the sheriff comes, I'm down on my knees, and I cried, and I prayed. I prayed to God to please help me. And the next thing that I did is I picked up the telephone. And I called a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. At this point in time, these were the only people that would answer my calls, because I burned every bridge. Me and Mom and Dad are dead. My one brother, who tried to do an intervention on me probably a couple years before he died, he's gone. His kids now are worried about me. And his kids were more like closer to my age, my nephews. And I tried asking money for them, all that. All the bridges were burnt, all of it. So what happens is somebody on the other end of Alcoholics Anonymous picks up the phone, and they tell me it's going to be okay. They came and picked me up, and they picked me up and brought me home to Moore County, and I had the opportunity to stay here, to stay with a friend for a couple of days. That woman saved my life. She helped drag my ass back in here because I was so battered and bruised. And, my knuckles were crushed, my body was bruised, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And here you guys all are, happy, joyous, and free. And I am not looking good at this point in time. And I want what you have. I want to walk a free woman. I want to walk with my head up high today. I don't want to sneak around the corner. I don't want to worry if the police are going to come or if they call back up when they do, because that's what happens when the police come. And I had the opportunity to get help because I got the gift of desperation. Because it got so bad, I had no other place to go but through the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. And at that point in time, I was ready, willing, and able to work the steps on the wall. It was a beautiful thing. I get a sponsor, and it's funny because the sponsor, I can't get the sponsor that I want because she's working at the Bethany House, and that's where my rear end needs to be. So I need to find a sponsor. And I come back in here, and of course, I've been in and out of here a few times, and I see this woman, and I remember her from 3 years back. And she came up to me one time, and she was like really timid, like a deer in the headlights. And she's like, hey, it's Maria. My sponsor told me I need to talk to other people. And I go, okay, all right. When I come back into the rooms, this woman's like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Life is great. She's got this big smile. I'm like, God, look, this really does work. I mean, she was here with me 3 years ago. Look at her. So I asked her to be my sponsor. And while in the Bethany House, you have to get a job. At this point, my favorite job was bartending because that was quick and easy money. Cynthia Curtis, hell no, you are not going to be bartending here at the Bethany House. I was like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, all right, what the hell am I going to do? So they could fill out an application in Hallmark. And I get a job at Hallmark. And, no, it's Hallmark. It was a job and it was paying the bills. And then all of a sudden, the sheriff's department shows up. Because, when you slow down long enough, they'll find you. And when you do, you got to make restitution and do all that stuff. Of course, you guys know that. So there goes the job at Hallmark. Oh, damn. So I have to find another job. And I have to find another job right away because, when I got to the Bethany House, I didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. All right? I didn't even have money for the Bethany House. And while I was in rehab, the wonderful ex would bring me my mail. And I didn't read it. I was at rehab. That place was like jail. But I was grateful that I was, that the pain and the drug use and the friggin' insanity, was getting a little better. I got out of that toxic relationship. So I'm sitting in the Bethany House opening up this mail from rehab. And because I can't go into the Bethany House, I can use their telephone. I have to sit on the porch and make calls while they go run and, take the girls to work and do all that stuff. But I can't be checked in because I don't have the money. So I'm opening up my mail. There's a check in the mail. There's a check in the mail for $225. I'm like, oh my God, I never get a check in the mail. I get bills in the mail, I get IRS, stuff in the mail, but I never get a check. Wow. All right, I only need $75 more. This is doable. Picking up the phone, calling the family members. Click. No, can't help you. Click. The person that does help me was my ex-husband. And he brought the last $75 to the Bethany House in order for me to get better. Because I had to change everything. Because, when I start thinking I got this, I don't have this. I don't. I just don't have this. I needed direction. I needed good, orderly direction. And I got that through a sponsor working the steps in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I did my 6 months at the Bethany House. And I get my CNA license. I start working in a retirement center. I'm thinking about going to nursing school. And, life slowly gets better. After I get out of the Bethany House, I still don't have a car. But, members of Alcoholics Anonymous are giving me rides to work. Or I'm walking to work. Or I'm riding a bike to work. But I'm getting there. Because I'm responsible today. I'm not hungover. I'm not high. I'm not up for 3 days. It's a beautiful thing. And I get my life back. My children came to see me at Bethany House. That's kind of a humbling moment. My children are such a precious gift. I had 2 gorgeous children, and they're 14 and 16, and today I can be a part of their life. I wasn't a part of their life for a while because I got really sick. I got really sick from alcohol and the insanity that ensues when I take that first drink. And so I worked the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. Somebody, out of the kindness of their heart, gives me a car. And I have a car now. And life keeps getting better. I'm working the steps. I'm talking to my sponsor. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. I chair meetings, visit friends. Another big thing, I talk to other women. I never did that in my life. I was never a woman like her, I never had girlfriends. I always had guy friends. Chicks always wanted what I wanted, so they were just a pain in the butt. But today, I have really good friends. And these are the friends that are here at Alcoholics Anonymous. They've taught me how to be open, honest. I haven't scared anybody away, and that's a beautiful thing. I can tell them the crazy in my head because, Lord, it gets crazy. Still to this day, it gets a little crazy, but it's manageable because I have a higher power that I choose to call God, and I try to work with another person. I try to work with my sponsor. I fall short in all of these things. You know, I am not perfect. I love the part that they say we are not saints. And that part makes me smile every time. Because I certainly am no saint. And I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm truly grateful today. There's kind of like this little thing going. I usually never, ever get to tell my story and go over like 30 minutes tops. I'm done. I'm out of here. Hell, I think I made it to 45 today, and I'm truly grateful. But it has not been an easy road, but it's been a rewarding road. Because today, as I said, I can hold my head high. I could talk to another woman. I can put my hand out to another woman, give the telephone number to another person, and help her like another person has helped me. And that's truly the gift that this program has. You know, the ability to give back to another person. Because that's what life's all about. I get, and now, you know, I have a job. They like me. You know, the police aren't looking for me. I got pulled for the ticket a little while back, and they didn't call for backup. You know? And I'm just like, all right, I was speeding, not a big deal. And, you know, it's just so much better. My gratitude list is done on a daily basis. It's kind of funny because I tell my friends I have a condo that has 3 skylights, and I like to sleep, man, and it's bright in the morning. But when I wake up and see those 3 skylights, I thank God, because there was a point in time when I would hear the birds chirping or see the sun, and I'd curse it. You know, I would curse it. And now, you know, I'm truly grateful because I have a roof over my head. I am not suffering from addiction and eviction today because I suffered from that for many years. And I got a car loan, you know. I have a much newer car. I have my children in my life, and I show up. You know, I show up for my children. I mean, I was the woman that was living in Greensboro, and their father had to take care of them. And today, you know, I try to be a better parent. You know, like I said, I fall short. But if not for the program of Alcoholics Anonymous and a good sponsor, you know, I wouldn't be here. And I'm truly grateful, and I appreciate you guys listening to me tonight. Thanks.
Good job.